If you want to see results in your personal finances, you need to plan effectively. And in this video, we'll take a look at how we can do that, so that you don't waste all your time and energy into financial planning without seeing the results that you would like to see. And the way we are going to do that is by applying the 80-20 principle. Now, in case you haven't seen the first video of the series on how to 80-20 your money, the first one was about budget, I will explain the 80-20 principle in short to get you up to speed. But in case you're already familiar with that part, please feel free to skip this section.
Hi, if you're new here, I'm Sophia, a doctor from Germany, and I love to talk about money. And what I also love is to optimize things and processes that make our life easier. And I think this optimizing thing, especially in my personal finances, is also what allowed me to save and invest a multiple six-figure net worth within just a few years. And one of those optimizing strategies definitely is the 80-20 principle, which is why I wanted to do this series and go through the simple steps with that you can use them too in your personal finances. So let's dive in.
The 80-20 principle is also known as the Pareto Principle because it was first described by Pareto. And it basically states that 80% of the effects come from only 20% of the causes. And that can actually be applied to many different fields in life. The last time I took a personal example from health, and this time I will choose relationships. And I'm going to use a personal example from my work as a doctor. Okay, and I'm having some doubts if I should share this. But I mean, it's the truth. And the thing is, 80 to maybe even 90% of patients, they were very nice, they are grateful, or at least, they're like normal. So they come to you, you treat them, they go, and everything's fine. But there are a few patients that are not as nice. They shout at you, they insult you, they even scare you. And this doesn't have to mean that they are always like this. Of course, especially in the field of medicine, other factors play in that as well. Maybe they are scared and that is like kind of their reaction. But for the treating doctor in that moment, it actually doesn't make a difference. And those few patients can really ruin your day, maybe even your whole week. So in this example, 20% of patients, it's probably even way less than that, cause like 80% of the headache, that's related to work sometimes. And of course, this works the other way around as well. I mean, there will probably be many different colleagues you work with every day, and all of them or most of them are nice, but there are the 20% that lead to 80% of your well-being at work. Because it's people that you get along with very well and it's just fun to work with them and they like literally make your day. In my example, sort of like the negative example, there's not much we can actually do to like escape those situations. We have to just find a way to deal with them in one way or another. But when it comes to our personal finances, we can actually choose the actions that bring us joy and that also brings us results. And when it comes to the Pareto Principle in financial planning, I would like to start with financial goals. Chances are you have many different financial goals on your list. May that be a written list or only a list in your head. And that's not just okay, that's actually good. And you can keep them on a back burner list, which is a list where you keep things that you want to do eventually, but they're not a priority right now. And in order to maximize our efficiency when it comes to financial goals, we want to pick the 20% of goals that lead to the 80% of our financial well-being. Let's say, for example, on my list of financial goals, there is own a house, 1 million in net worth, fill up emergency fund, get a Birkin bag. Yes, at some point I would like to get a Birkin bag. Put more money into crypto, get a Porsche and save more for retirement. And now we want to pick the goal that makes the most sense financially and that also gives us, in this case me, the greatest peace of mind. And for me in this hypothetical list, although it's actually not that hypothetical, filling up the emergency fund would become my priority because it makes sense financially. The emergency fund is one of the first things we should have in place when it comes to our personal finances. It gives me peace of mind because I know that I have, this pile of cash in case something happens, I can just live off of that. And it would also be the fastest to achieve. And your list of financial goals will probably look a little different. Ideally, you only pick one or maximum two to focus your energy on. And I think the 80-20 principle, in fact, is only a tool that helps us to decide on where to focus on. Okay, so to 80-20 our goals is one way in financial planning, and then we also have to put it into action. And also here we want to focus on the actions that have the highest impact to reach our goals. And what I mean by that is kind of like the type of action. For example, when I started working and I got my first salaries, the first goal I had was to fill up to build my emergency fund. And of course, I could have compared the prices of blueberries, but I knew that saving €1 or two here or there wouldn't get me to that goal fast. So what I actually did, I set a savings rate of 30% of my income, and I, basically survived on the rest of the 70%. And that was one action, a type of action that got me to my first goal pretty-ish fast. Another example would be, let's say you want to start saving for retirement. So the first type of action would be to open a retirement account, preferably a tax-advantaged one if there is in your country. And then the next action would be to max it out. And the way I would do it is to look, okay, how much do I need to max it out? Let's take a US example here. For the Roth IRA, at the moment you max it out by $7,000 per year. And then I would just divide that number by 12, and that leaves us with $583.40 per month. And then I would set up a transfer over that amount to the retirement account. Of course, you would need to do some research about the different types of retirement accounts and also if they and which one makes sense for your individual situation. But in the end, it's that simple. You set a goal and then you define the actions that bring you there the fastest. Of course, this one was a rather radical version, to just set up the transfer and then live off the rest. If this is not possible for you right now or it is too hard, you can take a step-by-step approach as well. And that would basically start with the question, how can I achieve to put that kind of money towards my retirement? This will probably lead to you looking at your costs, in order to free up money. And there you can also concentrate on the 20% of costs that drive the 80% of your expenses. And this is what the first video of the series was about. I linked it here if you want to watch it later. And then once we have determined of what kind of action is needed, the type of action, the next step is to do it in the most efficient way. If, for example, it takes you 5 hours per week to pay your bills manually or save and invest manually, that's just very time consuming, and at some point something will get in the way. I think it also takes the fun out of it all and it becomes kind of like a chore. So another way of 80-20ing our money planning is to automate. We want to automate as much as we can to keep the maintenance as low as possible. And we can do that by, for example, having an automated transfer to pay our bills. Of course, we still have to check if the bills are accurate once in a while, but we can do that maybe 4 times a year instead of, every month or maybe even every couple of weeks. Especially for the ones that don't really change, like rent. And we want to do the same thing when it comes to savings. So we want to have a recurring transfer from our checking account to our savings accounts and investment accounts each month with each salary, and that will save us so much effort and headache. So the planning edition of 80-20 Your Money was to look at our goals and the few goals that lead to our financial well-being the most. Then we want to look at the type of action that gets us to our goals the fastest. And we also want to do those actions in the most efficient way with the least amount of maintenance. Now that you have 80-20'd your planning, the next thing you want to do is to 80-20 your investments. Then you can check out this video next. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.